Hey everyone, welcome to you all in SQL Fundamentals Part 3. In Part 1, we have understood that what is SQL, why we are using it, what is the this front end, back end, and what is this database thing. In Part 2, we learned about the queries operation. What are the different queries operation of SQL, how we can fetch the data. Okay, we have seen the example of Zomato, how Zomato actually, we have seen all the data which is right there in the Zomato website. And after that, we also seen like how we can fetch the data from the database. Now in the part 3, let's see what we are going to learn today. So basically the topics are, the first is we will try to understand what is data types, then primary keys and foreign keys, then the constraints, then insert, update, and delete, like all the operation, and alter table, drop table, check constraint. Okay, in short, if I say today we will try to understand how to create a table. Okay, if you want to create your own table, suppose you are making making some website. Okay, and for your website you have to create a database. And now in this chapter, we will try to understand how to create the database, and in that database, how to insert the data, how to update it, how to delete it. Okay. Because when you're working for the website, when you're working in the backend, the first thing which you have to do is design the database. Okay. Okay. So let's move forward. Okay. We have already understood this big picture. So this big picture is all about, here you can see that this is the front end part, this is the back end part, and this is the database part. Okay, front end talks to the back end, and back end talk to the database. Through database, the back end will get the data, and through back end, the front end will get the data in proper format. Okay, and from front end will display the data to you in a, like you can, in a very stylist manner. Okay, you can in a very interactive manner, so that user like in front end, the rule is like user interactive should be high. Okay, user won't confuse like where I can find this button, where I can find this button. Like it should be in a like a sorted manner. Okay, if I talk about the the social network website like Facebook, if I talk about Twitter, okay, anything like Gmail. So the main reason they are the like the one of the thing which they have is the user interactivity, the simplicity of their front end. Okay, so it must be there. And now if backend wants to talk to the database, okay, so basically how we are actually storing the data, how we are creating the table, how we are getting the data. So for this we need a language. So that language is known as SQL, structured query language. Okay, through which we will fetch the data, through which we will create the data, create the table. Okay, and we can perform many operation. Okay, as SQL allows us. So now let's try to understand what are data types. Okay, so there are different type of data type: Boolean, integer, real, string, character. Okay, now imagine if you want to store your information. Okay, so now I give you an example. Suppose I'll take you to the Zomato website. Here in this website, you can see that there are a lot of data present here. Okay, here you can see that there is a dish name. Here you can see the like dish type. Okay, what all other dishes they used to survive, what is the category they used to serve, basically provide to you. And the other thing is like what is the rating and what is the like delivery time. So here you can see that this data, okay, where they have stored the name of the dish. So this dish is basically you can say as you can read, Delhi Dosa Plaza. Okay, so this is a string. Actually this is a string which we like in our programming language we called it as a string. Okay, and if I'm talking about some number, okay, this is 30 minutes, this 3.2 rating. To store this data, we basically need integer. Okay, so that's why these data types are actually designed. Like when you are fetching the data, it is not like everywhere you are fetching some like you integer data or number data. Somewhere it is like a, you can say, string data. String data basically means like the name of that dish. Okay, somewhere you are storing some integer value, somewhere you are storing some floating value. Floating basically like in decimal places. Okay, so you need different data types to store the different types of data. Okay, that's why data types are there. So data types are basically are there to just when you want to store your data, like for different thing. If you want to store the name of the dish, you can use string. If you want to store like any number, then you can use integer. If you want to store any true false, then you can use boolean. Okay, so these data types have their own advantage and in different perspective. Now if I'm talking about this table here, you can see this table. There is an employee number, name, age, department, and salary. Okay, since if I'm talking about a name, every like column has some data type. Okay, if I'm talking about name, so basically name is actually storing names. So we can say that name is actually storing the strengths. Okay, if I'm talking about age, so age is some number. Okay, so we can use integer. If I'm talking about the department, like which department in the, like these people are working, so store, marketing, security. So basically this is the, you can say a department is actually storing string. And if I'm talking about salary, salary is actually taking the integer. Okay, so when you are creating the table, suppose you have opened a store, you have opened like any web, like you have opened your own store. Now you want to create the website for that. So first thing, when you're creating the backend, so first thing what you'll do, you will create the table. Now you will put the fields in that table. Okay, what all fields I need? Okay, I'll need employee number, I'll need the name, I'll need the age, I need the department from where he's working, I need the salary. Okay, but while defining it, you also have to mention like what type it is. Okay, what is the type of name, what is the type of age, what is the department, what is the salary, like what is the type of this thing. Okay, but why is this, why we are actually mentioning this type, and why why we are doing like that. Okay, the reason is that like suppose later you want to perform some operation on the salary. Okay, so in that case you can only do the like multiplication. Like suppose you want to multiply every entry with 2. So then if this 5,000 become 10,000, this will become uh 11,200 or something. Okay, so in integer you can perform the operation of multiplication, division, but in the string you cannot perform that same operation like that. Okay, so we should know like what is the data type, so that if later if I want to perform some operation and like something like that, okay, so I can do that. But if I cannot perform operation on these strings. Okay, store, marketing, security. Now, why we need data? Why we need data type? Okay, so the reason we need data type is basically we need to store different category of data for our website. Okay, sometime I need the integer data, sometime I need the string data, sometime I need the floating point data, sometime I need the boolean data. Okay, so there are different categories of data which I need to show to the basically to the front end user. Okay, that's why the data types are created. So what are the SQL data types? So SQL data types are basically, there are binary data type, there are numeric data type, there are extract numeric data type, there are string data type, and there is date data type. Okay, these are the different data type which SQL provides. Now, if you have a table, and if you have a table and now you have given the column, like this column I'm going to use, this column 2, this column 3, this column 4, this column 5. With that, you also have to mention the data type. Okay, this column 1 is actually related to int. Why I'm saying that? Because it is actually containing some value, so like in some integer format. This like suppose the column is storing the age. Okay, that's why I'm mentioning that it is int. Column 2 is storing some type of string. That's why we have written like char 5. Okay, column 3 is actually a type of date. Okay, in column 3 you are actually storing the date. So SQL has their own data type to store the date. Okay, column 4 is basically integer, column 5 is char 1. Okay, so you have to make this decision while creating the table. Okay, so SQL data type, like you can, this is a quick reference. Okay, here you can see that this is the data type, and these are the different you can say different tools of SQL: Access SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL. Okay, and they actually identify each data type a little bit differently. Okay, if you are talking about Boolean, in Access, Microsoft Access, you can use yes and no. Okay, in SQL Server you have to use bit, and in Oracle you have to use byte, MySQL and Boolean. What is this all about? Okay, and that's mean if you are suppose you are working in SQL Server. If you are working in SQL Server, then in that case, in the column one, if suppose it is int, so you have to mention, like you just have to see, like if you want to integer, then you have to mention like this. Okay, if you want to use suppose any suppose you want to use Boolean. In the case of Boolean, you have to write bit. But if you are working in this Oracle, then in that case, you have to write byte, okay, in front of it. So now the one thing is very important is like while you are creating the database and tables, you have to carefully consider like which data type should be used, okay, for the data to be stored. The reason is that once the data is created, then it is very difficult to change the database in the later stage. Okay, that's why you have to think carefully like which data type I'm going to use. Suppose if I give you an example, I want to store a phone number. Okay, so which data type it should be, like in which data I should store it in our database. Okay, so you will try to think, and let's get back to this table, and you will try to think, okay, which data type I should use. So I think in your mind you will see you feel that okay, integer will work. Okay, you in your mind you will feel that integer will work. Okay, because I need to store the 10-digit number. Okay, fine. So now here you can see that key, just as I told you, like this is a phone number and you want to store this phone number in some data type, and you have decided that I will use integer data type. Okay, you will choose this. But I want to ask, like, why you are bothering about like numerics at all? Why you are thinking, okay, this is since this is the number and I'm restricted to store in an integer. Okay, it is not like that. You can also store in a string. The reason the reason is that as you are not like doing any arithmetic operation on that number, because that is just a mobile phone number. Okay, you will not multiply 2, you will not divide it by 2, you will not make any operation on that. If you're not making any operation on that data, then why can't you store in the string? Okay, so that is the point. When you are creating the table, just try to see like in which column you are going to perform the operation, and for which data type which thing is like suits the best. Okay, so that's why I'm saying while you are creating the data, like while creating the table, take time to plan. Okay, modify table later because modifying the table later will be painful. So now let's try to understand what is a primary key. Okay, so basically a primary key is a column or a group of columns used to identify the row uniquely in a table. Okay, primary key helps in joining the table. Okay, I'll explain this part, like what it is saying. So basically, if I'm talking about this table here, you can see that there is employee ID, course ID, taken date. Okay, so this is what it's saying. This employee has taken this course. This is information of that course ID. Suppose this course, like this course 3 is suppose algorithm course. Okay, and the date is like this, and this employee has also taken this. Okay, so these are the IDs which are given to some employees. Okay, so like if I'm talking about some employee, okay, I want to check which course he has taken. So I will just ask him like, what is your employee ID? And he will tell me, okay, I have 104. And that is my employee ID. Okay, in my database, I will check, okay, 104 is enrolled to course ID this. So these IDs here, you can see that these IDs are uniquely given to each employee ID, and it should be distinct. It is not like two employee has same ID. Okay, so this is the column where every value is actually unique. Okay, through which I can identify the information of that whole row. Okay, through which, like through this 103, I can identify like what is the course he has taken and what is the date. Basically that means this is a token, this is a key through which I will get the information of that employee. Okay, and that ID actually I'm giving to them. If I'm talking about school, in the school every student is allotted to his as a roll number. Okay, roll number is unique to each student. And if I talk about this that roll number student, then using that roll number I can get whole information of that student, like what is the student name, what is the student, which class he is right now. Okay, how much, how many marks are he is getting, like what is the status of that whole student, using that roll number. Okay, so that's why these IDs actually help, and these IDs are known as primary key, through which I can identify the information, like the user information, like at a whole. If I'm talking about bank, in the bank used to provide customer ID, And if a customer enters in the bank and the customer will ask to the bank, okay, I want to know what is my balance. I want to know what is the last transaction happened. So the bank will ask him for the customer ID. Okay, that is a unique thing which is given to him. So that is the primary key, and the one property is like it should be distinct. It should not be same. Like another customer is also coming to the bank and asking for the same and telling the same customer ID. It is not possible. Okay, so that's what is primary key. Primary key is a column or group column used to identify the row uniquely in a table. Okay, so that's it. But why we need primary key? Okay, why we need primary key? The reason is that why we need primary key, because if I'm storing some information in my database, like suppose you have opened a startup. Okay, now suppose you have opened a startup. Now like what happened ki you are creating a table for, suppose you, for your restaurant. Okay, now when you are creating the table for your restaurant, then you will like try to give some field for your table. Suppose you open you have opened your restaurant. Okay, now you want to create your own table. Okay, so the first table which you are going to create is like your food table. Okay, now in this food table, now you can understand that if this is your food table, now you need to store different types of information. Okay, what is the food name? What is, suppose if I'm talking about what is the name of your food? Okay, what is the cost of your food? Okay, and you can also ask like what is the name and what is the cost and what is the type of that food, like is it from veg or non-veg? So if I'm giving this food table, if I'm like writing here like if I'm writing here like pav bhaji, you're providing this. Okay, and you are providing the other dish, paratha. If you are putting another dish like idli. Okay, and they have some cost, suppose 200. Okay, 100, and suppose 150, and these all are from the veg category. You're inserting the data in the table, and suppose you have also another dish which is like you can say like you have some chicken thing, and its cost is 500, and this is actually non-veg. Now if these are the dishes, okay, now I'll ask you like how will you identify it? Okay, because in the paratha, if I'm talking about, there will be a paneer paratha. And what if there is a aloo paratha also? No? So this is not, it is just not a like one category of paratha. There will be a multiple categories of paratha. So if you want to understand like in which dish I'm talking about, okay, which dish I'm talking about. So there are varieties of paratha, there is idli, there is chicken. Okay, these are more information. But so for that I need the ID. Okay, so which I will give it a name as food ID, and I will give name as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, if I tell you like what you want, okay, and you see in the menu and you just have to tell me like I want this number 3. Okay, if you are telling me that I want number 3, then I'm automatically getting the whole information. Okay, what is the idli, what is the he want, what is the name of the dish, what is the cost, and what is the type. Okay, so that's why this primary key, that is the advantage of this primary key, because it is helping me identify the item whichever I want. So that is the beauty of, you can say, that is the like that's why we need basically the primary keys. So if I'm talking about, if you are storing some customer information with the name and the phone number, okay, then if there is a Rohit, okay, and this is a phone number, this is a Sonal, this is a phone number. Now suppose there is another guy whose name is same Rohit. Instead of this Ajay, suppose there is a same guy which is known as Rohit, then how will you identify it? Okay, so that's why I'm using this customer ID, so that I can uniquely identify the Rohit. So basically, what is a foreign key? Foreign key is a field in a table that uniquely identifies a row in another table. Okay, a foreign key is defined in reference to the primary key of the other table. So what does it mean? So likewise, I talked about the like food. Okay. Now what I'm saying, like if I have this food table, if I have this food table, now suppose I have another table. I have another, now you will make the another table, like the, suppose the customer table. Customer table. Okay. So this is your customer table. Now, if I'm talking about the customer table, so customer has like this much information: customer ID, customer name. Okay. Or you can say the phone number of the customer. So if I'm putting it into the table, so this is my table: customer ID, customer name, phone number. So what is the customer ID? Customer ID, suppose starting from 50. Okay. And the customer name is actually Rajat. If I'm talking about 51, if I'm the customer one is Shruti. Okay. If I'm talking about 52, if the customer name is Shubham. Okay. And there is something you can say, like some phone number is there. Okay. Some phone number is there. Now, this is my food table and this is my customer table. This is containing the information of my food. And this is because I want to open a restaurant. Okay, this is the customer table which are coming, and I'm registering their information. Like these are their customer name. I'm giving some IDs to them. Okay, so that I can identify. But what if they want to order something? Like if this customer want to order something, so what will happen? Like if suppose I'll make another table that is customer order. Okay, and in this table, I'll store the information. And in this table, I'll store the information like customer ID, okay, and the food ID. So this is my customer ID and this is my food ID. So if I'm talking about the customer ID, so customer ID is basically this 50. Suppose this customer 50 has ordered something like he want to eat paneer paratha. So I'll put the entry here. Okay. And suppose this customer 50 again have make an order of like he want to make want aloo paratha or more. Okay. So this 50 can make any number of entries. Now, if I also want like this 51 is actually accessing for the, this 51 is actually, I want to order 4. So now what is happening here? Here you can see that this is your primary key. This is your primary key. But here these keys are actually your foreign keys. So basically what is happening here, this is your primary key, this is your primary key, but these are your foreign keys. These are your foreign keys. Why I'm saying this is a foreign key? Because here you can see, you know that these keys are actually unique. These keys are unique. So the definition of primary key that it should be unique. Okay, here it is actually, it is unique, here it is a unique. But here you can see that here I'm repeating it as many times. So you cannot call it as a primary key. So why I'm calling it as a foreign key? Because these are the primary keys of other table. Okay, so if I suppose if I put the information like if I want to make the order, and if I know that this customer ID is actually my foreign key, then in that case if I make an order for 53, okay, in that case what will happen? If I mark it as a foreign key, and I'm already telling this table like by saying that you are a foreign key, that you are the, like you are basically you are like related to some other table. Basically that means if I'm putting some entry here, like here I put 53, then this 53 should be present in this table. Okay, so basically this is just a constraint which is saying that if I'm putting 50 anything here, okay, that means you should be present in here. And by calling food ID as a foreign key, what I mean, like if you are putting any order here, like if I suppose write 6 here, then it will check in the main or food table whether that 6 entry is present there or not. Okay, so this while making as a foreign key, okay, what we are doing that key, it won't, like if I put this type of enter, 53 is ordering 6, in that case it will give the error. While give the error, because I have made these keys as foreign keys, I already told these keys, okay, you are related to some other table. Okay, so please, whenever a customer is making any like order, please check whether that number, whether that customer exists in this customer table or not. And whether you are like making any order, then please check in the food table whether that is not. So there is a two concept of, you can say, primary key and foreign key. Primary key is very simple. Primary key is something like which is distinct and through which you can identify that whole row. Similar like the roll number. Similar if I'm talking about in company, so there is employee ID each, given to employee, like each employee. Similarly, like in a bank, we used to give, like the bank used to give each customer like customer ID through which they can identify their information. So these are actually primary key. But what is foreign key? Foreign key is a little bit abstract. Like they used to like create tables, and while we are creating table, and if we are using some other any primary key of any other table, in that case we mark it as a foreign key. Why? So that any invalid entry won't enable to enter, because by putting this as a foreign key, my database in the backend is automatically checking whether that entry is present here or not. Because here I'm putting 53 entry, but 53 entry is not present in this customer table. Okay, and so that is not an invalid. That is an invalid customer. So don't make insert like these types of insert. So this is all about, this is the concept of basically primary key and foreign key. Like you need foreign key while you are creating the table. Okay, we will see like how we can use it. Okay, now we have seen that key, why we need foreign key. Basically, why we need foreign key, if I explain it again, the reason need is the reason is, if I'm putting any key as a foreign key, that means it should be present in some other table as a primary key. Okay, so what is like, how is it helping me? It is helping me, like if I unable to, like I cannot put any random entry here. I can only put only that entry which is present in this table. Okay, so through which it is actually maintaining my database, you can say. Okay, so invalid entry won't be allowed. Otherwise I can put anything like 57, 59, and even though the customer is not present, then who is making this order? So this is why we need foreign key. Okay, now let's move to the another thing, like create table. Okay, how we can create the table? So create the table, the syntax is like this. You have to write create table, and then you just have to give the table name. Okay, and then you just have to give the column 1 and then the data type name. Then you have to give column 2, then the data type. Okay, similarly in this way you can create the table in SQL. Now this is the way, basically create table and student. Suppose I want to create the student table, and you just have to give ID, name, age, and you just have to declare the data type. Okay, so let's see how we can create the table. So if I'm here right now, I'm here in the Postgres SQL. Okay, sqlonline.com. You just have to go to the Postgres SQL, and now you, in that case, initially it was not connected. Okay, so you just have to go to the Postgres SQL, and after that you just have to connect it. We will try to understand how to create the table in Postgres SQL. The reason is that I already told you, like that there is a different way of, like the different data types are there for different database, different like these tools. Okay, so like creating table syntax is like mostly same. The thing is with the data type. So now let's see, if I want to create table. Okay, and I want to create the student table, students. So after that you just have to write create, and you have to write the table, and then you have to give the table name. What is the name of the table which you want to create? Now open the bracket and close the bracket. Okay, inside this you have to give the information. So if I am giving the information ID, okay, so it should be in int, I'm saying. And suppose I want to put the name, okay, it should be in character. Here you can see that name, character, and the last thing which I want to give is age. And I have to give the age. What is the age? Basically, it will be in integer. Okay. At the end, you have to put the semicolon so that you are saying, okay, my statement is complete. So create table students. Okay. And you have given your like what are the column you want and with the data type. Now, if I run this, okay, it is saying like, so basically this is my create, this is table, and this is the students. Okay, I have given the column name with the int. Okay, the int is my basically the, you can say that data type. If I talk about, if I show you the table, in which table I used to, I know that in the in the SQL data type, go to the PostgreSQL. If you want to define integer, then either you can write int or integer. Okay, so it's good like if you put everything in a capital letter. Otherwise, these are table name, you can put in a small letter. Okay, otherwise these are the, like you can say this is my ID, name, age, and int. And if I run this, so what will happen? Like it is actually showing me the error. Okay, now it is run. So basically in the student, okay, here you can see that the three things, ID, name, and age. Okay, these things are created. So if I just write select star from student, select star from students, and if I run it, okay, so here, because there is no data is actually right now is present here. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so no data is actually right now inserted here. Okay, we will see that later, but right now you can see that three entries are created. Okay, when I inserted the data, when I will insert the data, then you can see the table. But right now you can see that the table is created here and the three entries are there. Now, so now let's move to the that I talked about the create table. Okay, this is how we actually create the table. Now let's talk about the SQL constraints. So there are different constraints which SQL provide. That is not null constraint, check constraint, unique constraint, primary key constraint, foreign key constraint, and default constraint. So basically what is constraint? Constraints are basically the rules enforced on data columns on table. And it is used to prevent invalid data from being entered in the database. And it actually ensure accuracy and reliability of data. So if I give you a short example, like what it is all about, let's go to the facebook.com. Okay, so if I make it, okay, now if I create a new account, now suppose without giving any data, like suppose if I do the sign up, then you can see that it is showing this red error. Okay, why you didn't put any name, you didn't give surname. Okay, if I give this XYZ, and if I give something like this, okay, and the email address, if I write abc@xyz.com. Okay, so it is actually checking. Here you can see that it is saying like this is not a valid, enter a valid mobile number or email address. Okay, so there is a constraints are checking like at every point. Like it is checking like what is a like whether this data you are putting is right or not. Okay, you cannot give age in like in this format. It will actually give you error. It will actually give you error like this age is not, please enter your age, because and this is not a valid format actually. Okay, so that's why you need to put the constraint like where, because a user can put any data. Okay, so that's why we need the constraint so that we can use that with the data type. Okay, so what is the primary key? That is, it will ensure that the value which you are putting is should be unique. Not null will ensure that every value should be there. Like you cannot like leave blank any space. Okay, if you are writing not null. Default value, like if you want some default value, if you are not user not entering it. Unique basically means that value should be unique. That value should not be present previously in the table. Okay, so these are the basically you can say these are the constraints which we have. Now if I want to create the table, now you have this thing like how you can create the table. So create table, and then you just have to give the table name, and then you have to give the column one and the data type length and the column constraint. Okay, then you have to give you can also give the column two, then the data type, and what is the length of that, basically that value which you are going to put, and the column constraint, and then you can give the table constraint. So let's see in the example how we can basically create the table. Okay, so here I'm creating the table like players. Okay, so the here I'm storing the information too, that is player ID, and here I have written serial. Okay, so what is this serial is actually, and here I'm writing primary key. Primary key basically it should be unique, and here this age, and age is integer, and I'm writing not null. Not null basically means you are not allowed to like leave that the space is blank. Okay, you have to, while you are inserting it, age should must be there. Okay, otherwise it won't store the entry in the database. So now let's talk about serial. So basically what serial will do, it will automatically create a sequence of number in the increasing order, and you can use it as a primary key, and it will manage that key whether that value is actually it in increasing order or not. Let's say if I'm creating the table players, suppose I'm create table players. If I'm creating the table players, okay, and in the table the first thing which I need to, here you can see that the first thing is I player ID, and I will store player ID. Okay, it should be in serial. Okay, and it is actually my primary key. It is actually my primary key. Now this is my player table, and I want to store age, and that will be int, and it will be not null. Okay, so here you can see that key, the first I am putting the like the what is the variable name, what is the like the serial, and this is the constraint. This is basically one of my data type. This is also another data type, integer. So if I run this, okay, just 1 second. Okay, now it has created the player table. In the player table you can say there a player ID and age. Okay, so this is actually a serial. Okay, so now here you can see that key, this is how actually like it will be serial but in an integer format. So when I'll insert the data, then you will understand how this thing is actually working. So now let's move to the restaurant database. I want to create the restaurant database where there's a customer table, food table, and order table. Okay, so now here I've created the you can say I've created the table. The first table is customer, and this is a customer ID, serial, primary key. This is the name, age. Okay, and I've given the email, and I have also given the like another variable that is created on. So basically if I copy this, then in that case here you can see that I have created the table. Okay, this is the table, and what is the table is all about, this is a customer table, and this is the customer ID, and after that I've given the serial. This should be in a serial form, like basically automatically it will generate the numbers, and this is the primary key, and this is the name of the table, and this is a varchar. Okay, varchar basically means I can use like variable character. Okay, so you can use either numbers or character like in a string format. Age should be an int, and I'm putting not null. It should not be, you cannot leave it null. Okay, email, you know that key for everything, like every registration, the email must be null. Email must be unique. You cannot give the same email for the different registration. Not null, and it is the created on. Okay, it will create a timestamp, basically a date time, like when it is actually created, and should not be not null. And okay, so basically this is how actually I'm creating that like customer table. So the customer table is created right now. Here you can see that customer ID, name, age, and Now let's move to the next one. That is my food table. Okay. So basically this is my food table. So if I want to create the food, so here you can see that this is my food table. Here is my food ID, and it will be in serial and the primary key. Other thing is the name of that food, and it will be in a string, and it will be not null. And what is the type? Basically veg or non-veg. Varchar not null and created on timestamp. Now after that, my food table is also created. Now let's move to the next table, that is my order table. Okay, so when I'm talking about the order table, so you already know that in the graph, here I have already shown you, like this is my foreign key. This is my foreign key. Okay, while creating the table, I've already shown you like these are my primary key. Okay, this is my primary key, this is my crime. But how I like define it, like in the another table, like if I'm talking about this orders table, in order table, how can I define them as a foreign key? So what I'll do, so here you can see that in create table orders, okay, what I'm doing, I'm writing the customer ID. Okay, I'm putting the data type, what is its data type, and after that I'm writing references where it is referencing. So basically it is referencing to the customer table, and inside the customer table I'm referencing to the customer ID. Okay, whatever your entry is present putting here, that entry should be present in the customer table customer ID. That is how it is actually making it as a foreign key. Now, if I'm writing food ID integer, then it is actually referencing to the food table and with the food ID. Okay, and this is my order time. So this is how actually I have defined the foreign key thing. So now let's move to the insert. Okay, how can I basically insert the data in the table? Like right now we have created the table. Insert allowed to add in rows to a table. No need to provide values for a serial column. So basically now we move to the insert command. Okay, how we can basically insert the rows in the table. Okay, that we already have created. So here you can see that there is an insert. Okay, insert allows to add in rows to a table. No need to provide values for a serial column. Okay, uh, since we have provided, like as you already remember, like in the serial one. Okay, here I have already defined, like when I was creating the table, here I have defined the serial. So you don't need to put the values for here, provide the values for this one, because it will automatically adjusted by the SQL. Okay, since I've written serial, it will automatically insert the values in a sequence, like in an increasing order, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what I mean, like if I'm talking about the customer table, okay, this is how you can basically insert the entry into the customer table. Okay, so first what you have to do, just come to here. Okay, since you already know I want to insert the information into customer table. Okay, so what I'll do, right, I will write insert into customer. Okay, now I have to provide all the basically in which entries I'm going to put the values. So I'm leaving the customer ID, I'm putting name, because a customer ID is in the serial for data type, age, email. Okay, after that I have created on. Okay, now after that I just have to write insert into, and then I'll just have to write the table name and all those column name where I have to I'm going to insert the value. Now you have to write values. In the values, one by one put the values, like so I'm saying, like I want to put the value of name. So first value which I'm going to insert is name, that is Ayush. Age, that is 18. And if I'm putting the email, you just have to write in a string format. That's why I'm putting in the code. That means it is a string. Okay, Ayush at xyz.com. After that, I need to put the created on. So in that created on, you can just directly write the current timestamp. Okay, by this current timestamp basically means like it will put the right now, whatever time is right now, it will automatically insert that value. Current time stamp. Okay, so after this, now when I just run this query, Okay, so insertion has done. Now if I write select star from customer, okay, here you can see that the customer ID, name, Ayush, age, email, and just one second. Here you can see that the created on it has like put the like right now whatever time it is it there. So it has put that time, email and age and name and customer ID. Okay, like that you can insert any amount of value in this table. If I just copy this, or you can say I just remove it to, okay, and if I write shruti.xyz.com, okay, if I change the age to 18 to 19 and I insert the data, in this case you will also find that the data entry has inserted into the table from, okay, customer. Now if I run it, here you will find that Ayush Shruti entries are inserted. Okay, so this is how I can insert the information into this customer table. Now let's move to the next one. Okay, how I can insert the information into food. To information into food, I have two types, basically name, type, and created on. Okay, and values are basically name, this is dosa, and type veg, and current timestamp. Similarly, I'll put the value into the food table also. So here you can also see in the key in the while I was inserting, I didn't give the value of customer ID. Okay, and this value is actually already, you can say, I got this value here automatically. Okay, automatically inserted one, automatically inserted two. Now if I talk about the basically food, if I want to insert the value in the food table, I just have to open it. So how many entries are there? Food ID and name. So I just have to write insert into, okay, and the table name is basically food. And after that, what I'll do, I'll just write the in which column I'm going to insert the value name, type, and created on. Okay, now I'll write values, what values I'm going to print it. So values first, the food name is, you can say, pav bhaji. Okay, and the type is veg, and what is the created on, I'm giving the name current timestamp. Okay, now if I just insert this value, so it will insert it into the food table. You can say select star from food. Okay, here you can see that the food ID, pav bhaji, type, and created on is present here. So this is how I actually can insert the entry into the food also. Okay, so now and serial automatically inserted this value. I didn't put any value in that one. Now I'll just move to the order table. Okay, if I'm talking about the order table, in the order table you can see that in the orders table you can see that there is basically there is a customer ID, food ID, and this customer ID is actually attached to the customer table, and this food ID is actually attached to the food table food ID. Okay, so now if I want to insert this into, like if I want to insert into orders table, okay, so in that case I'll just provide the customer ID and I'll provide food ID. Okay, and I'll put the values and with the order timestamp also, order time. Okay, the values will be, so this value, this customer ID, since this is the foreign key, so this customer ID should be present in the customer table. As you already know, in the customer table I have inserted two entries. So that entry was Ayush, and the second one is actually Shruti, the first one and second one. Okay, so if I'm writing two, so basically I'm attaching Shruti, and in the food table you already know I have only one entry, that is one, that is pav bhaji. Okay, I'm giving the primary key name, that is the key name. And what is the timestamp? So timestamp basically current timestamp will tell me like at what time they have entered the, basically at what time they have entered, one second, at what time they have entered the value. Basically this is my customer ID, this is my food ID, and this is my, okay, insert into, in which table I am inserting, orders. Okay, so if I run this, so here you can see that if I select star from orders, here you can see that the customer ID 2 has ordered the food ID 1 and at this order time. Okay, so basically that is the value of, you can say, the foreign key and primary key. Primary key is actually present in here in the, with this one. Okay, automatically it will add it because I've added that primary key as serial. Now if I'm talking about the update, how you can like follow this update one. Okay, so update basically means if you want to change the, like already there is a value, okay, and you want to update that value. Suppose the age of the customer, okay, and I want to update that value. So how can I? So you just have to write update in the table name, and you have to write set, and what is the column one, what is the column one, and what is the value. Okay, what is the previous value and what is the new value which you want to insert. Okay, and now where the condition is, basically this is a column name, actually this is column name, and the column name which value you want to put, and where condition basically at, like it will help you to understand like in which row you want to make change, in which row you want to make the changes. Okay, so if I go to the next one, so here you can see that if I want to update customer set age equals to 50, let's see what happened. So if I am writing, like if I just show you what is present in the customer table. Okay, Ayush, and I want to update the age of Ayush. Okay, update, and you have to give the table name. Okay, set, what is the column name, age, and what is the age you want to give, 20. Now what will happen? What happen after this? So if I run this, here you can see that, just one second, select, so this is, I'm commenting the code, it will not run it. Okay, and if I run it, so here you can see that both ages are actually converted to 20. Okay, but I don't want that. I only want here, I want to increase the age of Ayush. Okay, so let's say I want to increase the age of Ayush. So how can I do it? So in that case, you cannot just write update customer and set age. In that case, it will update all entries. You just have to write update age where, okay, customer ID, where customer ID is equals to 1. Okay, and I'm making it to 25. So basically, if I make it to 25, in that case, only Ayush age should change. So if I run it, here you can see that Ayush age, it changes to 25. Okay, Ayush age changes to 25. So this is how actually this thing actually works. Okay, you just have to put the column name and the value and where that column ID equals to 1. Okay, so now you can also basically update the timestamp. Okay, if you want to basically update the timestamp, in that case you just have to write like set created on current timestamp. Okay, so if you want to update this created on, so I will write set created on equals to current timestamp. Okay, I'll update it. So if I run this, okay, if I run this, then I'll update the timestamp. So here you can see the Ayush timestamp is 7320. Okay, so if I just check like what is the output, Previously it was 7.3. Okay. Now if I'll make it, here you can see that here it is 7.13. Okay. That was in the like 10-minute differences there. So basically it has updated the created on, like if you want to update the timing also. Now after this, this is how you can update the table. Okay. Now if you want to like, you just don't want to execute it, you also want the information. If you also want to information, like I every time I have to write the select, what I can do now, I can just write update set created on where customer ID, and after that I'll just write the returning, and returning what I want. Basically I want the name, age and email, what I want to check basically. So after just writing this, and if I execute this, here you can see it, I'm getting the name, age, email, so that I don't need to basically again write the select star from customer. Okay. So this is the thing, even if I'm changing the age also, age to 30. Okay, it has changed, and now you are also returning, basically also return you the, it is not, it doesn't make any changes like other than age, it doesn't make any changes to the table. It's just returning me, means it is just showing me on the screen like what changes they have done. Okay, so this is the how actually the update works. So now let's move to the next one, that is delete one. Okay, so what is delete for? It is used to delete, remove all rows from a table. If you just write delete from customer, now it will delete all the rows. But if you write like delete from customer where customer ID equal to 1, then it will delete only that entry. Okay, so in that case, what I can write here, if I write delete, if I just write select from customer, select star from customer. Okay, in that case, if you just check, like here you can see the two entries are there. Okay, if you just delete from customer. Okay, in this case, what will happen? It will delete. Okay, so basically here you cannot delete the entry. The reason is that there is a violation, because you know that in the orders table, so I'll show you the another one, that is select star from demo, I guess. Okay, I'll show you the another table, select star from demo, and here you can see that there are many entries. Okay, what if you run a delete from demo? What will happen if I just run a delete from demo? And in that case it will delete. One second, I need to comment this. If I just run this, then in that case it executed. Now I just have to write select star from demo. I just need to check what is the output, and here you can say you cannot find anything. Okay, because it has deleted the demo completely. It has deleted the demo completely. So now if you want to just want to delete the particular item, in that case what you can do, okay, if I just insert the value name, hello, int name. Okay, if I just insert this value, and if I just run it, here you can see that to hello and name. And now what I'll do, this is basically star select star from demo. Now what I will do, basically after this I just want to delete this entry. Okay, if I again insert one more entry in this demo, if I insert 5 Varun name. Okay, so in this case what happened, like there are two entries. Now if I want to make the deletion operation here, so what I will do, delete from demo, okay, where id equals to 2. So now it has executed. Now if I just comment this part and And if I just run it, here you can see the one entry which has the ID2 is deleted. So basically this is how actually this thing is working. And if you want to like return whatever you have deleted, okay, so in that case you can also write a returning thing. So if I'm writing here like this, where ID is equals to basically 5, and I want to returning basically name and hint. I want to return what is the name and hint. So in that case, it will return me like the name and hint. This entry is actually, it has been deleted. If I execute again, so it will not delete actually. Okay, it will not do anything. It is not returning me anything. The reason is that that entry is not exist right now. So if you can check this, here you can see that you are not getting anything. And it has also returned the name and hint. You have seen that. Now let's move to the next one, that is alter table. Okay, if you want to alter the table, so in alter table basically means you want to adding, dropping and renaming columns, changing a column data type, set default values for a column, add check constraint and rename table. Okay, there are many functionalities which you can do using alter table. Now let's see how alter table actually work. Okay, so basically the basic command, the general syntax for altering the table is alter table, table name, and whatever action you want. And action can any one of like these. Okay, there are 5 action, so you can perform any of these like these individual actions. Okay, so first move to the adding column. If you want to add column, you just have to write alter table, and then you have to give the table name. Then you have to write add column, then you have to write the column name, and then you have to give the data type, and then you have to give column constraint. Okay, so this is the way how actually it works. So if I suppose if I remove this table, okay, and import it again, now in this I'm importing the menu table. Okay, so basically just one second, I need to connect to it first, and then I need to import it. So I'm importing this, and then okay, so it imputed the menu table. Select star from menu. If I run this, in this case you will find that this is the table, and these are all the columns. Now if suppose I want to add some column, so what I'll write, alter table, and what is the table name, that is menu, and after that I will write add column. What column I want to give, so basically the column is suppose variety. Okay, what variety of food is there, something like that. Now I need to put the data type. Okay, what is the data type of this? So the data type of this is actually this one. And after that, if I want to put some default value, okay, after adding the column, setting the data type, now if I want to put some constraint, so the constraint can be like default value. Okay, I can say that uh, okay, so, basically you can say coming soon. Okay, this is like that. Now if I run this, so basically what it is saying, add column variety, and in this I need to put it in the single quotes. Okay, so if I write select star from menu, and if I put a semicolon, if I run it, now you can say that variety coming soon. So it has set the default value. So the third line is actually for setting the constraint or something like that. Okay, so suppose if you want to drop a table, if you want to drop this table, so how will you drop that? Okay, so alter table. Okay, and you need to give the table name menu, and then you just need to write drop column, and what is the column name, basically variety. That is enough. If I run this, in this case, it will remove it. Select star from variety. Okay, not sorry, not variety. It's actually when menu. So here you can see that the variety column is actually deleted. Okay, it is not right now in the present in this. So alter has actually dropped it. So with alter, either you can add column, you can do the dropping thing. Okay, so if I move to the next one, I have removed the column. I've shown you. Like if you want to basically set some constraint also. Okay, if you want to set some constraint also in that case. So basically alter table, table name, alter, and column, column name. So basically first write alter table, and what is the table name? It is actually menu. Okay, add column. Okay, and what is the column name basically? So the column name is actually, suppose I want to add availability. Okay, and I want to write as integer. After that, I want to set the constraint. Basically, if you want to set the constraint, set constraint. If you want to set the default value, okay, or either you want to like drop default value. You can also put like some constraint as not null. Okay, also you can remove a constraint like drop not null. So if I'm writing set, okay, not null, so what I'm doing, I'm setting a constraint here in this one. Okay, so if I run this, so basically here I just need to write not null. Okay, here I just need to write not null, but here I cannot put not null because already the information is present in the table. Already the information is actually present in this table. So in this case, I cannot directly write basically not null. Okay, so basically why I cannot write basically directly not null, because if I run this, in this case it will availability of relation menu already exists. Okay, right now it is already exists, but the point here is like, since every menu, every item has some information. Okay, and if I'm adding any column, so the default value which got added, if I don't give any default value, in that case all value will become null. So if I show you like, okay, so in this case what I'll do, I'll write set default, not, I just write default, what default value I want to give it. So default value, suppose I want to give 5. Okay, in this case, not like every value of the row will be 5. Okay, and it would not be not null, it would not be null. Now if I run this, okay, actually it is already executed. So if I directly show you, select star from menu, and if I run this, now you can see that there are basically default values 5 is set. Okay, but if I don't give any default value, then every value will be null. Okay, so that's why not null is actually not working there. So that is the point. Okay, and I can also drop the, basically I can also drop the constraint if I want to drop the constraint. So basically table name is actually menu. Okay, and what I can do, like suppose if I want to drop not null, so what I am doing, I am removing the not null constraint from this one. Okay, so basically what it is doing, it is actually dropping the not null. 1 second. So basically if I want to drop a constraint, okay, already I know in availability there is a not null constraint already put here. Okay, so now if I want to, like suppose if I want to drop the constraint, then how will I? So alter table, so basically table name is menu, and after this I will write alter, okay, column, and what is your column name? Column name is basically menu, sorry, availability, and after that I'll write drop not null. Okay, so when I'm deleting it, so it actually deletes the not null characteristic. So basically select star from menu. Okay, so here you cannot see this that draw over not null thing. you like it is, you will only realize this only when I'm inserting something to this. Insert into menu. Okay, and I need to write all the columns, basically menu ID. And if I'm inserting something to is like name, price, okay, type, and category, and availability. So if I want to insert the values, so this is the values, and what value I can give it in this. So basically 39 is the last value. I'm putting 40 here, menu ID. Now name, I'm putting ABC. Okay, price, I'm also putting 52, and category I'm putting XYZ, and after that I'm putting the availability as, suppose I'm not giving the value of availability, then what will happen? Since I have set the one second, I'm removing the availability from here. I'm not giving the value of availability. Okay, since you already know that key, here I'm inserting how many values, 1 2 3 4 5, but here I've given only, okay, one second, so I need to give type also. Suppose I'm giving veg, and if I insert run, now in this case, now let's see what happened. Okay, select star from menu. Okay, so what will happen? I have inserted only these values, and what it has done, it has actually set the default value. Okay, it automatically set the default because initially I've set the value as something as 5. Okay, so this is the point here. So like it actually automatically add that value. Otherwise, if you are giving any value, like suppose 10, then it will insert that one. Suppose I'll write as 50, and I'll put it as 75, suppose. Okay, and I'll run it. Okay, so sorry, it is saying like it has more columns. Okay, one second, I need to write here availability also, because I need to write all the number of columns whichever is present there. So 5, so how many values are 1 2 3 4 5 6? So 6 value I should write here. Okay, then only I can execute the run. So now let's see, select star from, you can say, a menu. Okay, if I run this, now in this, you can see that I've got 75 values. Okay, so that is a property of actually alter column. Okay, you can alter the constraint, you can add column, remove column, alter the constraints. Okay, many things like that. Now let's come to the drop table. So basically what drop table is actually doing. So drop table actually drop your table. Okay, it allows you to remove the table and independent object. The restrict option rejects the removal if there is any object depend on the table. The restrict option is the default. Okay, so basically the default option of dropping the table is restrict. Okay, so what do you mean by restrict? So let's see, if I want to drop the table, suppose I want to drop table. Okay, I need to give the table name, that is demo. So this is the syntax of dropping the table. So if I drop it, so you can see that the table is removed from here. If I again execute it, then in that case, it will give error. Okay, so what is the other way? If I am dropping the same table again, okay, so don't like create there. In that case, you can write if exist. Okay, so what if exist will do? What if exists will do? What if exists will do? It will only delete the table only when it exists, and will don't it won't throw the error. So if I'm running this, so here you can see that it didn't throw the error. It checks first like whether that table exists or not, and then only. And if I remove this, now in that case it will throw the error, because it is saying like which table you are trying to delete, because table demo does not exist. Okay, but if you are putting this condition, then in that case it is also checking. Okay, so there are two types of delete, basically cascade and restrict. Restrict says that okay, I will delete this table, I will delete the same table. Okay, what cascade will do? Cascade will delete all the dependent tables. Okay, if you are dropping the table with cascade operation, so suppose you have a food table. Okay, and food table is actually depend upon the orders table, because every customer whatever he is ordering is depend upon the food table. Okay, because food has some items, okay, which you need to so okay, I'm sharing, just give me one second. So here you can, you know that if you suppose you have a food table. Okay, so there is an ID and there is a name and there is a price of food. Okay, so if I'm talking about, suppose the first food is pav bhaji. Okay, the second food is like any uh like suppose any dosa. Okay, the third dish is idli. These are your dishes, sorry. Suppose this is a food table and this is your ID, and ID is the ID number 1, 2, 3. Okay, that is your name and that is your price. This is your price. Okay, so dosa, idli, okay, or you can say vada. So the price of basically here is 100, 50, 25. Okay, this is the thing. Now there is an order table also, where each customer is order something. There is a customer ID and he's order something, food. Okay, so the customer 101 ordered something like, I'm writing the ID of the food. So he ordered idli. 101 is actually ordering something that is vada. Okay, and 101 actually made the order. But suppose there is another one, 102, who made the order for idli. Okay, and 102, can 102 make the order for 4? But 4 is actually not exist here. Okay, that's why it is, you can say that this is your foreign key and this is your primary key. If this is your primary key and that is your foreign key, so this table has dependent, you can say this table is dependent on that. Okay, so basically you cannot directly delete this table. You cannot directly, because if you are deleting this table, but this table has relationship like with that table. Okay, because if you are removing what you're doing, you are removing all information, then what is the meaning of this information? So then there is a no meaning of this information. So in that case, what we can do, so in that case, if you are doing the drop table, in that case you can write cascade. Okay, cascade will do the deletion. Basically what cascade will do, cascade will also delete, allows you to remove the table and its dependent objects. Okay, it removes the dependency from it. Okay, it maybe not, it is not like it will delete the dependent tables, it will delete the relationship between them, that foreign key relationship. Okay, so yeah, just try this by yourself, then you will understand. Okay, just create two tables, one has a foreign key on other, and delete, try to delete the like the main food table, and it will create the like integrity, like violation of integrity constraint something. Okay, it will show you. But when you do the cascade thing, in that it won't, and it will delete the food table. Okay, maybe it will not delete the order table, but it will delete the foreign key dependency on that. Okay, now we are not looking for any foreign key on that main table. So this is how drop table works. If you want to delete multiple table, in that case you can write drop table if exist, table 1 comma table 2 and something like this. And you can also write a cascade or restrict. It depends upon that. By default it is restrict. Restrict basically means it will only delete that table which you want to delete. Okay, it won't affect other one. But in case of dependency, it even restrict will not work. Okay, so now the last thing is check constraint. Okay, in check constraint, actually, if suppose you are creating a table of employees, so there is an ID, first name, last name, birthday, join date, salary. So now if while creating a table, if you want to put some constraint, like if I want to insert some data into a database, then please check these constraints. What do I mean? Like suppose if I go to this website, Facebook. Okay, and if I create a new account, so in this account, I am putting something, something. Here I also am putting something, something. Here I also am putting something, something. If I try to sign up, okay, and if I write something here like this, okay, so right now please enter a valid mobile number or email. So what is it is checking the constraint. This constraint checking is actually in the front end. That is very different from whatever we perform the check constraint in the back end. Okay, so front end is actually checking whether data user ID is valid or not, and then in the backend also the constraint also checked. Okay, that's why whenever we are inserting anything into a table, we also put a check constraint in the database also, like whether birth date is greater than this period or not. Okay, and join date should be greater than birth date, and the salary should be greater than 0. It is not like you are putting salary someone as 0. That false data. Like this is not a valid data. Here you can see that I'm putting first name, last name, birth, join date, salary as a negative. So this is not possible. So check constraint won't allow that. So that is the beauty of check constraint. Okay. So now in today's session, like we learned about how we can create our own tables. Suppose later you planned, like you want to create your own database, like you want to create the database for your basically for your restaurant. So in that case, what you will do, how can you choose the data type? Okay, how can you choose the column? Okay, so you have to like sit back and you have to think about it, like what all columns I need for my like web development project. So like this is how this thing works. So this is a like end of basically this is the end of part 3. Okay, so after this we'll move to part 4. Yeah, thank you.